written and produced by George. Now, you have done an episode on spinning the wheel, and this one came up.
This is one of our first episodes. This was back about a year and a half ago. Freedom to me is one of my favorite songs that I don't necessarily love, but it's one of those songs that, a lot of these songs take you back to, where you were and what you were doing, all that kind of stuff. Some more than others. To me, Freedom does that. And I told my father this one time, if it wasn't for my dad and renting me the Wham video cassette that came out years ago that had all the videos on them, I may not have been as big into Wham as I was. I was at his house. My parents were divorced when I was very young. I was staying at his house for the summer. Sorry, my dog's over here barking.
That's
I was staying at his house for the summer, and I wanted him to buy me a cassette single, and he said, "No, I'm not doing that, but I'll rent you the videotape." So he rented me the videotape, and I saw Freedom, which was obviously Freedom was the kind of the stuff from China kind of interspersed in the video, and it just locked me in. Like that was the thing that like fully locked it in. And when I hear Freedom, I'm instantly transformed back to that summer, to my dad's house, to the community pool that he had where he lived,
mm.
to learning how to swim that year really fully. All the things I'm in, I hear it, do, and I just I'm there as if it was yesterday. It's one of the most like time warp songs that I absolutely love.
Funny how you mentioned about childhood memories. I remember a photo I had, and I can't find it, but it was me at school camp, and I had my Wham t-shirt on and these bright yellow shorts on, or they could have been pink shorts, one of the two. Probably, I think they were yellow shorts. And I was probably like 10. And I can't find that photo, but it was just me at school camp with my Wham t-shirt on. And I'll always sort of remember that because I had the Wham album and I loved George and Andrew, and I was right back there, and just you mentioned your dad, and yeah, it's amazing how songs and albums sort of remind you of certain times of your life.
One of my favorite stories, and I don't know if it's my podcast or not, but when I was 35, 30, something like that, I kind of went into the industry my dad had been in for years. Different than him, but kind of the same mode of business. And I was sitting in Atlanta at a thing, and I heard Freedom come on the stereo where I was at, and I mean, I was there. I was back in 1985, and I actually just reached my phone and I texted him and I said, I'm following your footsteps, even though I never wanted to, and now I hear this, and it's like, here I am." And
Oh wow.
it just completely changed the way I thought about it, and I just love hearing Freedom. It's very, I just love it. It means a lot to me.
It's such a really uplifting, makes you smile. It's just happy. The long version contains a different intro, and this is a
Hmm.
bit of that version.
I don't want your freedom. I don't want to play around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again the I as a band kid, I was a trumpet player when I was a kid. So I loved his use of horns,
Yeah.
which was not necessarily, you know, uh, the band Chicago aside, that the horn section wasn't really a thing in pop music in the 80s. But he found a way to incorporate it, and he always did that. He did that for years. Some of the albums, some of the tracks on Faith had the horn sections, and he really did that in a big way, and made it not campy, made it not clunky. Same way that people were like leaning on synthesizers, he was bringing in a horn section and real horn players, not just
Yeah.
some track. And some of the people he worked with were just amazing, and he really understood the power of a fully rounded sound with a brass section and percussions and all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic.
There's also some footage online. Wham done a Japanese TV commercial, and
Yes, they
they
did.
used Freedom, but they did whole new lyrics, and they filmed this
Yeah.
easy little 30-second video. We've got to play this, Matt.
Oh, please.
This is the cheesy Japanese TV commercial advertising Maxwell cassette tapes.
I can't wait to see you. Why don't you come here no more? People think you're bounty, baby. あいつを耳一つリード。えっへん、ハイポジション、ハイビームサウンドマクセル UD2。
I love it. There's actually two of those. So there's
Another
that
one
one that
with
does
Bad
the
Boys.
with bad, but I think it's bad guys in the
Yeah.
Japanese version. Which I really wish there was. That's a really cool song, actually.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know if there's ever going to be something where it's unearthed. I don't. I'm not one of these folks who says, re-release all or release all the unreleased stuff. Please don't do that. I don't want George didn't want that. I don't want that. But I would love to know, is there a full version of that Japanese Bad Boys? I love that. And the Freedom one was just totally them goofing. I've seen him talk about it before. He didn't realize, or he knew they wouldn't realize what he was saying. So all of a sudden now it's a song about a big girl,
Yeah.
even though you're slightly porky. I love it. I love you're the fish face I adore. I love it.
And you mentioned before that China, Foreign Skies, I guess, documentary film that was released. I got that, I think, on videotape back in the day. I think, like you, I rented it from the video shop. But I really hope they release that on DVD or some type of, because I know earlier this year they played the original cut, which George wasn't happy with, but they agreed to
Yeah.
play it in London. It's just some event in London. But
I ordered that video in like 1995 from a video service or whatever it was back then, and I played it the night that I got it, and I remember thinking to myself, like, the performances were good. This is incredibly boring. Like, I didn't have any real feel for their cultural experience in China. I just thought it was like, this is really boring. So it has some. I'm sure it has some relevance and some significance, but I how do you appreciate that you're trailblazing in the East when you're 21 and you're a British pop act, and how do they appreciate what you're doing? There's a lot there that I think is kind of just it's just kind of there,
so Freedom won number one in the UK, Ireland, Norway, number three in US and Australia, eight in New Zealand, top 10 across Europe, 56 million streams on Spotify. Again, not enough.
Not nearly enough. This is
Nearly enough.
if you look at it, if you look at a Motown song that pays tribute but does its own thing and is a great song, this to me is miles better than Go Go as a song that holds up in that sort of way. But I get it. Go Go is more of just like it is the 80s. So I understand why it has what it has. But I agree. I didn't get those numbers up.
Years and years ago, actually years later, in 1999, a New Zealand TV show launched in New Zealand, and it was called Pop Stars, like a
Hmm.
reality TV show. And this was the start of the Pop Stars franchise. So it started in New Zealand, and then they sold the concept to overseas, like to the
Hmm.
UK and the States. And so I think the UK had Pop Idol, and then
Hmm.
the US got American Idol and stuff. But all started in New Zealand. And the group was called Tubeless, and they were a girl band, and they covered Freedom because Joe in the band loved George Michael and loved Wham. Let's just take a listen to a bit of a snippet of that version from Tubeless.
I don't want your freedom. I don't want to play around. I don't want.
That is New Zealand band Tubeless from 1999. That was the band's third single from their only album, Dream. Can't beat the original, but yeah, I think the girls did an okay job, but yeah, the original was way better.
I love covers though. I love and George did a lot of covers too. I love hearing what somebody can do with something. I especially love it when they take it a different direction than the original. I think that's fantastic. Even if it's not great, like one of the songs that George did later in his life was a song called True Faith. And quite frankly, I didn't love his version of it, but I love the fact that he did something completely different than what it really was. I
Hmm.
love that. One of my favorite covers of all time is the Tears for Fears song Mad World that was covered, later on and completely changed, stripped away to just a piano and a haunting vocal. And it just absolutely just took a song I didn't really even like and made it a song that I love. So
Mm.
I love people cover it and they bring some of their own to it. I think that's fantastic. I love it.